Welcome to Inside Ag from Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. I'm Shelby Varner. The mission of Kansas Farm Bureau is to strengthen agriculture in the lives of Kansans through advocacy, education, and service. And today we're going to focus a little bit more on education with Assistant Director of Foundation and Ag Education, Shannon Martin. Shannon, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Shelby. I'm so excited to be here.
Shannon, you are new to Kansas Farm Bureau. So to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. After college, I worked at several not-for-profit organizations over the years and kind of honed my skills in fundraising. And I've also taught some. I have a master's degree in education. And so I've taught at a couple of colleges and substitute taught in the local school district quite a bit. And so this job, which combines ag education and the foundation, is the perfect job for me. It just really worked out great. Most recently, before I was the assistant director of ag education and foundation, I was actually a county coordinator for just 6 months in my local county in Cali County. But it was a great job. I loved it. I loved going into the schools and teaching kids about agriculture and just, I'd see them somewhere else during the day, maybe at the grocery store, and they'd be like, oh, you're the lady who taught us about pumpkins, or, you're the one who taught us where milk comes from. And so it's fun to see how the connection to agriculture and their food takes place in the minds of the kids. And so I worked as the county coordinator for just 6 months. And then another position with the state, with Kansas Farm Bureau, came available. I actually applied for it, but then based on my resume and experiences, they offered me this position, which was great. It's a fabulous job. And I'm very fortunate to get to work all over the state now in ag education. And my role is to help the coordinators provide resources for the coordinators. So it's really been a lot of fun being at a different level.
Definitely does sound like the perfect combination for a job for you. So with that, as you mentioned, you do work for the foundation and ag education. Can you talk a bit about the goals and the purpose of those departments?
Yes. So the job is actually, I work for 2 different parts of Kansas Farm Bureau, but they're very complementary to each other. So the Kansas Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, we raise funds and fund different projects in communities. So we have education grants that we give out to coordinators and communities to do ag education in their areas. We also have an initiative right now called the End Hunger campaign that I'd love to talk about in a little bit. And then the other side of my job is ag education. And like I said before, my position is to help provide resources for the county coordinators. So I work a lot on finding new resources, coming up with new ideas, things that the coordinators and the communities can do to help educate their local, not only the members, but just the community about agriculture and how that is so important to know where your food and clothing come from.
Shannon, you mentioned the End Hunger campaign, and it's something that's currently going on kind of right now. Could you share a little bit more on what is the End Hunger campaign?
Okay, so we give grants into communities to end hunger or end food insecurities. During COVID, the Kansas Farm Bureau Board had an initiative to try to help communities with food insecurities. At that time, there was a lot of problems getting to the grocery stores. The grocery stores had a lack of food on the shelves. People were wanting to buy locally because they wanted to be reassured where their food was coming from. And so Kansas Farm Bureau Board took that on as an initiative and started the End Hunger project. So what we do is we give out grants into communities. We let them decide how the money is spent. Some of the communities want to just give to their local food banks. And so they provide some matching funds. And then at the foundation, we match that. And the money is donated to the local food banks. We also let them come up with their own projects. They might have something else in mind that works better in their community to address food insecurities. We funded programs where they pack backpacks for kids on the weekend. So when they come home from school for the weekend, they have healthy food for them. So we fund those projects. Our pool of funding that we use to fund this project has dwindled some over the last 2 years. And so we have a campaign right now to replenish some of those funds. So the End Hunger campaign is a fundraising campaign to raise money for the End Hunger grants. So we have lots of different initiatives out right now. People can just make a gift individually. They can go on our website to kfb.org/endhunger and make a donation back into the campaign to help others. We have, in 2 weeks, we're having a shooting sport event, kind of like a golf tournament, but it's trap shooting. And we have several teams signed up, and all the proceeds from that will go to the End Hunger campaign. There are several initiatives that are going to happen at our annual meeting in December that will go towards the End Hunger campaign. There is a silent auction that the Women's Committee puts on. All of the proceeds for that will go to the End Hunger campaign. We are having a fundraiser ourselves on Saturday night of the annual meeting. It's going to be a great time. It is called the Let the Good Times Roll, is the name of the event. We're going to have dueling pianos, a fabulous meal, lots of fun, and all of the proceeds from that night will go to the End Hunger campaign also.
Definitely sounds like a campaign that's really trying to go out there and help other people. Shannon, you mentioned also about your work with finding ag resources and supporting those trying to teach agriculture to others. Could you talk about what some of those resources are and different things that you are able to do to help them?
Yes. So our main goal is to provide resources for communities and coordinators to teach others about agriculture. We want people to understand where their food comes from. So that is our main goal of that part of my job. So what we would like to do is we want people to always go to kfb.org and then hit education. And that is the #1 resource for ag education. So when they go to our website and click on the education webpage, it'll pull up several different options, but one of them is called Ag Education Resources. And from there, there's several different choices. They can Ag Education Resources K-3, Ag Education Resources 4 to 7, high school age. We have all different ranges of resources that are divided out by the age of children. Then we also have Ag Education Resources for adults on there. So that is the #1 way to find ag education resources is our website, kfb.org. We also have several other opportunities. We have a Pinterest board, and that is also through the Kansas Farm Bureau, and it's called Ag Ed Ahead. So we pin fun activities and lessons that people can do from our Pinterest board. We have a newsletter that's sent out quarterly. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can just send me an email to my email address, which is martins@kfb.org. And I'd love to put you on our mailing list for our ag education newsletter. We also have a weekly newsletter that goes to county coordinators. That's just packed full of ideas for coordinators and communities to use. So there's lots of different ways to get our resources. And I've been working really hard over the last few months on updating the resources, making sure all of our links are current, making sure we have new things. We have 2 interns in-house that are helping me, and we're coming up with some great new ideas for ag education. So follow it, and there's lots of new ideas constantly being added.
You mentioned a lot of different things that you're working on doing. What are some goals personally for yourself that you have within your job?
I want Kansas Farm Bureau to be the #1 resource for ag education in the state of Kansas. There are lots of other entities that do fabulous ag education also in the state. But when people think about where is one place to go to get lots of ideas and resources, I want them to think of Kansas Farm Bureau.
That sounds like a great goal for your position. And what is something that you just wish more people knew about with what you're doing?
I think it's actually our website. I think there's a lot of people who aren't aware that we have all of these ag education resources on our website. And so I'm constantly telling people about this. Have you looked at the website? It's been updated. It's fresh. It's new. It's got new graphics. It's exciting. Lots of resources on our website. And so I think that's the thing that I'm always stressing that whenever I talk to any group. Well, have you looked at our website? And it's kfb.org/education. Really easy to get to.
Shannon, is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners right now?
I would like to say that I'm very thankful for my job. I feel like agriculture is my passion. We live on a farm. My husband's a rancher, and my kids have all grown up in this lifestyle. And it's such a privilege to live like this. And I feel like educating others about education is the most important job that I could have. And I'm so thankful that I was able to get this job where I'm able to impact more people around the state. And so I'm just very thankful for that and finding a job that matches my passion.
Shannon, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to talk to us about the Foundation of Agriculture and what you're doing within the Ag Education Department. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Shelby. I loved being here.
That was Assistant Director of the Foundation and Ag Education here at Kansas Farm Bureau, Shannon Martin. If you're interested in looking into some of those education resources, one of the ways you can do that is going to kfb.org/education, or on Pinterest, going to Kansas Farm Bureau and going to the Ag Ed Ahead. And if you're interested in subscribing to that newsletter, you can send an email to Shannon Martin, which her email address is martins@kfb.org. That is martins@kfb.org. I'm Shelby Varner, and this has been Inside Ag from Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture.